That's how they got me. It was the one time I didn't run. I just got tired of running. Something had to change.
Uncle Josh Snap, Bootswap on Black Power, family. What up? It's your brother in Google, now you see R.A.M. And once again, you're tuned into R.A.M. RBG TV. And you know, we keep it G. Raw and uncut common sense for the common people. Dealing with the common issues and family, you know, we're trying to seek those common solutions. That's right. So here we go. So all in together now, famous, say nice, loud, and proud. What's the method, the motto, the mantra, motivation, and the madness? You should know this by now, so famous, say it along with me. Here we go. You know that the answer is black love, because black love is a cure for the black nation. So let's get it. All right, so today we're going to take a different route, right? We're going to take a different route. We're going to talk on the topic of classism. I haven't really found out an exact title, so like always, family, when it goes up, you already know what it is. That's what it's going to be, and that's how we're going to rock out. But nonetheless, the overall topic of discussion today is classism. C-L-A-S-S-I-S-M. Classism. Now, with that being said, let's define classism. Classism is a noun. You can look this up on Google, anywhere you want to. This is the first definition that pops up. Classism, noun. Prejudice against or in favor of people belonging to a particular social class. I'm going to repeat that again. Prejudice against or in favor of a people belonging to a particular social class. All right? Now, basically, we'll put it this way. My overall premise today with this topic of classism, I want to tie it in to racism. Show you how pretty much it's one and the same with a little tweaks here and there. So with that being said, I want you to sit back, watch these two little clips I found from two of our greats. One of our ancestors, Dr. Emerson Wilson, you already know, right? Then also from one of our living legends that we have amongst us still to this day, Dr. Claude Anderson. I want you to listen to what these brothers have to say because it's very vital, very important, very relevant to the times that we're living in right now, the circumstances that we're dealing with right now, all in together now. So again, get comfortable for a hot minute. Listen to what these brothers have to say. When we get back, we're going to rap on this thing in a more common level, common people level, and we're going to rock out like that. So again, family, once again, we are talking on the topic of classism. It's your brother in Google, now you see R.A.M. RBG TV. Keep it locked, keep it G. I'll see y'all in a minute when I get back, and we're going to talk in a minute.
But America will become less overtly racist to the point where we become less useful to it. In other words, we're not going to block you from having freedom to do things, but the deal is you won't have money to do it. And so, we're going to create fair everything, except the situation is you won't be in a position to take advantage of it. So the issue then won't be so much our oppression and overt racist oppression, but our absolute uselessness in an automated society, in a global economic system. In fact, the issue now has moved to a degree beyond racism, to a degree having to deal with the economic structuring of the world and of the society. He goes on to say, increasingly, he is not so much economically exploited as he is irrelevant. The tremendous historical change is taking place in these terms. He is not needed. He is not so much oppressed as unwanted. Not so much unwanted as unnecessary. Not so much abused as ignored. The dominant whites no longer need to exploit the black minority. As automation proceeds, it will be easier for the former to disregard the latter. In short, white America, by a more perfect application of mechanization and a vigorous reliance upon automation, disposes of the Negro. Consequently, the Negro transforms from an exploited labor force into an outcast. The Negro's anguish does not rise only out of brutalities of past oppression. The anxiety stems more than ever before out of being discarded as a waste product of technological production. This is the world that we are facing. And therefore being caught up in terms of racism is an obsolete fact. It is time now to deal with the economic and social realities of the world.
And when you start talking about empowering people, you're talking about getting them out of a hopeless state. And so anything we do from this point on after this march and O.J. Simpson's trial is, what do I do to give my people not only the belief and the confidence that they can do it, but I got to get them the tools. I got to get them the money, the resources to do it with. Because from this point on, remember what I told you, it's a fight over resources. Who owns and controls it? If you own and control anything, and right now in this country, we as black folk own and control less than 1%. We are meat for anybody who want to eat us. Okay? And that's a dilemma we're in. Now, let me attack 3 or 4 things to show you what we got to start doing. The first thing we got to start doing is get away from all this old traditional symptom stuff. Don't let anybody tell you about, I'm going to tell you this now, and I don't mean to offend anybody, about they're going to they're going to fight a war on poverty. Poorness is not the issue. You're going to see all these so-called liberal and conservative blacks now, as well as whites, talking about the issue's not really racism, it's classism. Okay? Watch for this. It's going to be coming. And if therefore, if we could only solve poverty, we wouldn't have racism. BS. Poverty never was the issue. If poverty had been the issue, why didn't you put those poor whites out there and the poor Indians picking cotton? Why didn't you have the poor Asians out there picking cotton? It never had anything to do with poverty. It had to do with your skin color. That's what the issue is over. And they're going to try to pretend there's poverty. And so I tell people right now, I wouldn't give you the time of day for poor folk. Because poor folk is not the issue. I don't spend my time trying to help poor folk. You know why? Because you see, poor people can't help poor people. The only thing a poor person can do is make another poor person feel good. And when I'm in a damn ditch in life, don't make me feel good. Get me the hell out. And so what I want my people to do all over this country now is that don't let anybody get you to focus on any horizontal issues. Poverty is a horizontal issue. And I want you to all keep this in your mind for me. Do me a big favor, my brothers and sisters. Let nobody get you to focus on horizontal issues. By horizontal issues, I mean any issue that runs along the horizon that inflicts itself on everybody. Poverty is a horizontal issue. I got poor Ethiopians, I got Hungarians and Frenchmen, I got all kind of poor people all over the earth. I'm not concerned about poor people, because everybody got some poor people. You stay vertical. You're only concerned about people from the richest black to the poorest black. That's what you stay focused on. And as a matter of fact, and rather than trying to resolve poverty, you cannot eliminate poverty. Poverty is a given. It's a fixed in life. Up, down, north, south, rich, poor. You can't get rid of poverty. Even if you were in Ross Perot, you couldn't get rid of it. The only thing that is a fixed and given, you're always going to have some poor people. All I want is to get my people out of poverty and leave poverty hell alone. I'm going to leave it right where it is.
Once again, welcome back, family. You are still tuning in to R&M RBG TV. This your brother in Google Nicey R&M. On and on and on and on and on again. So again, like I said, we're talking on the topic of classism. And again, that definition one more time for the family who missed it in the beginning. Classism is a prejudice against or in favor of a people belonging to a particular social group. Now, we talking America, right? 3Ks, once again, family. Do not ever get this twisted. We're talking about America. We're talking about a capitalistic society. So with that being said, when you hear capitalism, you're talking money. You're talking dollars, you're talking cents. And if in this country, in this realm that we living in, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So what am I saying when I'm saying is dealing with racism and classism being one and the same? Black people, you already pretty much know our overall plights, our overall conditions. the history of it, where it's come from, how it's elevated and evolved, etc., etc., etc. But I will say this: we do know that there are ways to combat this. We do know ways and solutions to halt and repel this. We just, for some odd reason, choose not to. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Classism, we often think that racism, if you will, and when I do use the term racism for a reason, we think racism has strictly to do with, what you look like, your phenotypes, this, that, and the third. Again, we're talking America. There's different levels to this shit, family. And one of those many levels of racism is classism. All about your bankroll, what you bringing in to the table, if you will. If you're not within a certain tax bracket, if you will, if you're not bringing an X amount of dollars, of whatever the case may be, clocking a certain amount of dollars, you're not necessarily in a certain bracket. It's two brackets pretty much that you're dealing with when you come to America. Rich folks and poor folks. It's that simple. Racism comes into place when you have rich folks and poor folks of a certain racial background. Case in point, you got rich folks of white backgrounds, you got poor folks of white backgrounds. You got rich Hispanics, poor Hispanics, rich Arabs, poor Arabs, rich blacks, poor blacks, rich Asians, poor Asians, etc., 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 etc. When you're dealing with a classism type of realm, type of society, when you're dealing with a capitalistic type of society, you're pretty much going to have rich folks, the upper echelon, if you will, from all of those backgrounds, all sitting at the same table with. And that table is, if you will, the table of the wealthy, the table of the haves, not the have-nots. Poor folks are the ones that are have-nots. These are the ones that are scratching every day in society, trying to get some, trying to make the ends meet. And these are coming from people from all backgrounds. Now, do not get confused with what I'm saying. Am I saying that we need to, do the whole kumbaya, all is one for all, hold hands and joining together now amongst everybody else to go against the classism or capitalistic system? That's not what I'm saying, because at the end of the day, let's be real, that's a myth right now. Nationalism is the order of the day, and what's pretty much being said by Mr. Garvey himself and all of those that follow after him: race first. That is the greatest solution of all for any and everybody on this, on the playing field, on the battlefield. Now, with that being said, even in a classism type of society, in a capitalistic type society, you do still need to practice that of race first, that of nationalism. Now, granted, you're going to have, once again, rich folks and poor folks, and those in between, metaphorically speaking, or amongst any racial background, amongst any racial paradigm. But at the end of the day, the object and the name of the game is to take you and yours out of a impoverished state, out of a have-not state, etc., etc., etc. So therefore, you have to take the cards of race first, the game of race first, and put that into application. Because at the end of the day, once again, I'm going to say this one more time, you're going to have rich folks and poor folks amongst every racial background amongst the society at large. That's a fact. That's not going to go anywhere. The question is, do you remain there? Because at the end of the day, let's be real. Why do the poor people of all racial backgrounds go at each other, if you will, and compete with each other at such a savage state, if you will? Because they're all coming from a have-not state. They're all coming from a scratching to survive type state, trying to get into the realms, if you will, of the wealthy, the realms of the rich. So it's an everyday fight for survival. The racial aspect comes into play. The racism aspect comes into play, where you have, again, poor white, poor Asian, poor black, poor Arab, all going for the same piece of pie, if you will, metaphorically speaking. But because the ones that are sitting at the top, puppeteering shit, the rich amongst all, your rich black, your rich Arab, your rich Asian, your rich Hispanic, your rich white, etc. They're all sitting at the same table, making things happen, all for their own benefit, not for the benefit of their own people. So again, you got to watch out for folks like the talented 10th, your entertainers, the media, etc., etc., etc. Those type of folks, most the ones that are coming off making the big dollars or whatever. They'll make the big dollars. They've been elevated into a certain level of wealth and riches and whatever. They've been elevated to give you the impression, you understand, that pretty much everybody's able to do it. Everybody's able to reach this type of goal. But at the end of the day, they don't have to go through the same type of maneuvers that you have to do. They don't have to go through the the scratching and surviving. They've been placed here for a reason. It's for a political agenda, reasoning, whatever the case may be, distraction, illusion, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, racism and classism go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. At the end of the day, it's the rich and wealthy that move things, good or bad, for that of any racial group. Because let's be real. Rich whites will sacrifice the poor whites for the rich white gain. Rich blacks will sacrifice the poor blacks for the rich black gain. Poor Arabs will be sacrificed by the rich Arabs for the rich Arab gain, etc., 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 etc. So at the end of the day, it is a sense of the poor versus the wealthy, the poor trying to come up, scratching and survive to come up. At the end of the day, you have to do it on an in-house level. There will not be, I repeat, there cannot be, it's a myth, the whole holding hands, kumbaya, we are the world type of scenario, type of vibe amongst all people of the world, because at the end of the day, all peoples, all ethnic backgrounds, all racial backgrounds do have specific agendas that they are trying to achieve for their people. So by blending everybody up in this whole vacuum of one, we are one people. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. We may be going through similar things, similar struggles, but at the end of the day, our plights may be different based on racial background. That's a fact. That's a reality that we have to face, family. So again, for everybody that's going around with the whole it's us versus them, basically the 99% versus the 1% or whatever, sounds good, but it's not necessarily true to an extent. It is true to an extent, but it's not the overall end-all be-all. You understand? You still have to practice that of race first amongst your own people. You still have to practice that amongst nationalism amongst your own people to get you all where you need to go according to your wills, wants, and interests. Everybody does not have the same interests amongst the world. Everybody does not have the same interests amongst the world. So that, again, that's a myth. Yes, classism does exist. You do have your rich and your wealthy. You do have your poor and impoverished. But at the end of the day, you have that amongst all racial backgrounds, all racial walks of life. So again, kumbayas, holding hands, that's a myth. Get up out of that. You still need to practice race first amongst yourself. And let's be real, let's also add this into the equation too. At the end of the day, everybody does play their part in society. The rich and wealthy play their part. Those in between, the so-called middle class or whatever the case may be, they play their part, as well as those of the unfortunate and the lower regions of society. They also do play part. Everybody has a part, but at the end of the day, do you stay on the bottom level? Or do you actually try to find some way to come up and actually better yourself for that of yourself personally, your own immediate families, then ultimately your people at large? The name of the game is put your own people first, family. Race first is still the name of the game. You can't run away from that. You can't hide from that. I don't care how much you want to say, oh, that sounds derogatory to somebody else. At the end of the day, nobody else is thinking about that when it comes to you, especially you, black man, black woman, black child. They put their best foot forward. You understand? They make sure, even if their best foot forward is a step towards you or a step on you, it doesn't matter to them. They're going to do what they have to do for them and their people. Classism or not, racism or not, you will still be a stepping stool for somebody else. The more and more you suppress the will and the might of you to step forward and take care of your own. It's just that simple, family. So again, race first is the order of the day. No matter if you're dealing with racism, no matter if you're dealing with classism or any other ism on the plate, on the plate, you still got to put yours first. You still got to put your people first. You still have to put your wills, wants, demands, requests, interests, etc. first, because everybody else does. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick, because I thought it was necessary. I thought it was relevant, because, you know, dealing with this new political era that we're in right now, this new political era that we're in right now, it's all about business. It's all about dollars. It's all about cents. So at the end of the day, you need to wrap your minds around that area. You need to wrap your minds around dollars and cents. And not for nothing, think about it. When you play the game of nationalism, when you play black nationalism, right? Race first and all those other good things, right? And you take it from just rhetoric and you make it practical, you then begin to see the economic push from in-house. You get to see it live and direct. Time and time again, family, we always do the same old cries. Ain't no jobs, ain't no money in the black community, which is bullshit, because we spend trillions upon trillions annually. But where does it go? Where does it circulate? Not amongst us. So therefore, what am I saying, family? Put your interests first. Put your requests first, your demands first, your wants and needs first. Make it happen. Stop looking for a job and create businesses. That way we can hire and employ that of our own to, succeed and provide success for our own. Everybody else plays the game but black people. We play the game for them. We don't play it for ourselves. So at the end of the day, we can ultimately destroy classism, in a sense, amongst black people simply by black people putting other black people on economically. It's that simple. Economics and culture go hand in hand, just like racism and classism go hand in hand. They're part of the same body. Yes, it's one thing to talk the culture part, to feel good and, to go back 1,000 years, a millennium amount of years and what we did and yada, yada, yada. That's beautiful. Yes, we did it, but at the end of the day, man can do that shit again if man chooses to do it again. Do you choose to want to do it again? Do you have that burn, that desire? Again, we can ultimately destroy a lot of the things that's in our way. We know where it came from. We know who put it there. But at the end of the day, it is up to you to go, let's take this off of my back. Nobody's going to do it. If anything, they're going to continue to put more and more and more of a load upon your back because you've obviously deemed that you're numb to it, you're used to it, you can take on more and more and more. Time to get rid of that. So again, when it comes to classism, we can ultimately get rid of classism amongst mainstream society simply by putting each other on, simply by taking care of what we need to take care of from the inside. And when I mean the inside, I'm not talking about the system of racism, white imperialism. I'm talking about the system of the black family, the greatest system, the most feared system on the planet. This is why they have to do what they have to do to keep breaking up that system. The black family working unit. And what I mean by the black family, I'm not necessarily just talking about your whole household. I'm talking about the black body politic. When that is working and rising and thriving, it puts a ultimate fear across the globe for everybody that does not look like us because they know goddamn well that is the end of their reign, if you will. A working solid black family unit, a village type of unit, a community. We don't have a communal vibe. We have a hood vibe. And you know what comes with the hood? The hood comes with a bunch of negative aspects. Neighborhoods and communities are working institutions all amongst themselves, family. You have institutions upon institutions upon institutions within neighborhoods and within communities and things like that. We don't have that at the moment. Again, big ups and respect to all those who have, certain individual cells here and there. But again, until we begin to put each other on for the sake of our general come up, it's not going to mean anything. You're just going to have that one black brother or that one black sister that just happened to make it, quote unquote. And you already know what that brings, a type of aura as well. That brother or sister has that vibe of, I got to keep this. I can't really let y'all in because if I let y'all in, it's going to be too many of us. And if it's too many of us, I won't get the shine that I have amongst everybody else because I'm seeking acceptance, etc., etc., etc. Do you get my point? Again, racism, we know what it is. Prejudice, we know what it is. No need to get too deep into that. Classism, that's another level of prejudice and racism. It's not that hard to tell, family. And we can also, we also have to deal with that classism type of vibe, that negative classism type of vibe, also in-house as well. Because we do have brothers and sisters that are quick to look down upon one another because they feel that they made it. They feel that they've been accepted. But little do they know, they're on the bottom of those that they're kissing up to. Yeah, you might have a couple dollars in your pocket. Yeah, you might have a Lexus in your driveway, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, you're still playing catch up to those who you're competing with on an economic level. You're still playing catch up to them. You're still kissing their ass or whatever. They just let you in the door. So you also fallen for the same illusion that you have put off amongst the rest of the black mass. Another illusion. You fell for the same illusion yourself. So at the end of the day, you got to be careful. We have to deal with that on an in-house level as well. So at the end of the day, like I said, the more we continue to come up with different plans of working together on an economic level, again, the culture and the feel good, that's cool. But until we start talking dollars and start making sense out of this shit, it's not going to mean a damn thing. It's not going to mean a thing. You're not going to be able to feed your babies with books. You're not going to be able to feed your babies with dashikis and beads. You're not going to be able to feed your babies with lectures and videos and things like that, all empty rhetorics. No, you have to feed your babies with economic resource. That's how you buy food. That's how you purchase land. Economic resource. Again, so until we start talking dollars to make sense, it will not make sense, family. And the best way to erase the whole classism game in-house as well as a overall society, is to simply put each other on. Find ways to to sustain ourselves. Build a business for ourselves. Build a plan for ourselves so we can pass that on to each other. Because again, the more and more we keep going to somebody else, making requests, asking them to put us on, we're at their mercy. We'll get whatever it is that they give us, if they give us anything at all, and you have no choice but to be satisfied with that because you have chosen not to do for yourself. Race first. It's not hard. So again, like I said, also dealing with this whole classism thing. Like I said earlier, the white folks that we encounter today, Wazungu and Watu Wayope that we deal with today, right? The loud ones, the rah-rah ones, and forgive my language, the you niggers and this, that, and the third, and your cave apes and whoop-de-whoop, you know the language, family. Mainly the ones that you see online, because you don't see this shit in reality, right? These are your bottom of white folks. This is your bottom tier white people right here. They're also, like I said, scratching and surviving, pissed off because they ain't got the have-nots. You feel what I'm saying? So they're upset because they have to compete with black folks also within the same tax bracket, if you will, also scratching and surviving, the have-nots, trying to get, etc., etc., etc. They also, if they were to practice race first, just like any other group of people on the planet, if they were to practice race first and do for themselves whatever, they could also eradicate the game of capitalism and classism amongst their own people. The same way I just explained how black people do, and we need to do what we need to do for ourselves. We have to literally be able to put each other on. Stop depending upon other people. Like Mr. Garvey said, anybody that teaches you to depend upon another race is any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. That quote can be applied to any people on the planet. If white folks depend on us all the time, they're enslaved to us. If we depend on them all the time, we're enslaved to them, etc., 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 amongst any racial group or background in the game. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you, period, point blank. Up ye mighty race, accomplish what you will. Again, these are quotes that can be applied to any and everybody out there if they practice the game of race first and make it practical. I just wanted to bring that out there, like I said, based on the whole political arena and climate that we're in right now, that we're going to be in for the next 4 years or whatever. I thought that was necessary. It's time to put up or shut up, fam. That's pretty much the overall message within anything that I've been saying thus far for the last few years. It's time to put up or shut up, man. The feel-good speech shall be no more. The stroking of the egos shall be no more. It's again time to put up or shut up, man. At the end of the day, you got two choices. Like my dad used to always tell me back in the day, you gonna sink or you gonna swim, because the water's gonna be there. Period. The water gonna be there. You gonna sink or swim. With that being said, fam, you already know what it is, man. Thank you for walking with me the way I walk with you. You know how we do. It's your brother and Google. Now you see all Ray and them. You've been tuning in to R&M RBG TV, family, and you do know that we keeps it G. Raw and Uncut Common Sense, once again, for the common people dealing with common issues, looking for common solutions, man. Time to put up or shut up, man. Drop your feedback in the comment box. You already know, let's talk it up for a little bit, wrap it up for a little bit, because I'm pretty sure this is something that's been on your mind, or something that, can be on your mind for as far as a discussion. We need to talk. So with that being said, like I said, comment box, holler at me. In the meantime, between time, keep it locked, keep it G, R&M RBG TV. To the next one.